This tutorial provides details on how to prepare and upload data file with species or taxon occurrence data that you can then upload to the Freshwater Biodiversity Information System, FBIS. When you have a lot of data already in an Excel format, it's a lot easier to format it into this template than to upload each record individually. What I'm going to do now is to talk you through, show you the template. In this case, a fish data upload template with various, it's got 3 sheets. The first is where you would actually put your data. The second is an explanation about what each column means. And the third is an extensive list of drop-down fields that are used to populate the data. Okay, so I think let's jump to the explanation field, and I will work through each column systematically, showing you what is included and in some cases whether it's compulsory or not. The first thing to notice that anything in red is a compulsory field, and it needs to be completed for each row, where each row represents one occurrence record. So you have a species that was recorded on a specific date at a particular site. That would equal an occurrence record. So right on the left, you get what's called a UUID, which is a unique identifier for each record. This is a formula which, once you have completed your data file, you can drag down and then copy and paste as a value. So very easy to do that. The second column and third column relate to latitude and longitude. These need to be in the format of decimal degrees. The third column is sampling date. This is a very specific format. It has to be year, / month, / day. If you have data that does not have a sampling date, but has a sampling year, then we recommend you put the 1st of January and then the year that the sample was collected. This is often the case with historical data, but very seldom the case with data you are currently collecting. The next column is about the taxon. Now, in certain instances, like with fish species, these will be included in a drop-down list where you can select your species. But otherwise, the important thing to note is that unless the species has been included in the master list for the country, it won't be able to be uploaded, and you will need to discuss this with the administrators of the FBIS platform. We are here to help. So you would select your species, in this case, Australoglanis bernardi. The sixth column that is compulsory is about the rank. So each species you add, or each taxon you add, has to have a specific rank. It's obviously easy when it is a species because you just select species, but in some instances it might be a family or it might be a variety, and you must match the species or the taxon rank to the taxon that's been added. I should mention at this stage that everything that's been coded, like the column is actually green, relates to a drop-down list, which you can view at your leisure here. So if you see here, taxon rank, what I'm drawing from is this drop-down when you are actually putting in the data. Okay, the next column relates to present. Now, the FBIS platform doesn't include absent data. There are a lot of issues around this, so we're only allowing you to add data that was recorded at a site. And therefore, all data that you add into a spreadsheet has to have 1 to indicate that it was present. The next column is about who collected the data, and it would just be your first name and your surname. Then the institute that the collector belonged to when they collected the data. The next few columns relate to the metadata For all data added, we need associated metadata, and the exact details of what are included or excluded depends on the type of data source. So the first thing probably to add is the fact that the data source is either a peer-reviewed scientific article, a database, published report, a thesis, or unpublished data. If in an example it is a thesis, the sort of information you would need to include is the author, first surname, and then initials with no commas or dots, the year that the thesis was published, the source of the thesis, which in this case would be a University of Cape Town PhD thesis, and then the title of the thesis. Other examples may be a peer-reviewed scientific article. You'd still have the author or authors, the date, the source would be the journal title, it would be the journal name, the title would be the title of the paper, and then in this case you would add in the DOI as specified by this. We don't want HTTP, we just need the actual DOI. Going back to our thesis, most theses have a URL. In this case, this is the handle for the URL where this thesis is available. If a publication is a report, then this is treated slightly differently. It first needs to be uploaded to the FBIS platform, and then the document upload link would be copied into this column. The FBIS administrators, who would be the first, who would first receive prepared upload templates, would liaise with the data provider to find out the details related to the study source. Okay, the next column. Oh, so I should stop here and say that everything I've discussed thus far, so everything in red in terms of this, are compulsory fields which need to be included. Here on out, there's a number of optional fields, although we do encourage the ecosystem type to be included where at all possible. And what this really means is because the FBIS deals with sites on rivers, sites on wetlands, and sites on open water bodies, if you know where your site is, we ask that you choose one of these as an ecosystem type. If you leave it out, it'll become unspecified and it won't be, you'll still be able to upload the data, but obviously it would be good to include ecosystem type. And then there's a whole lot of other optional fields. So if you had a username for a river or a wetland in your study, we would ask that you include it. Same with the site code, which could be something like that. The FBIS site code needs to be left blank because it's generated automatically when the data is uploaded. If there's the description of the site, you can add it. And if there is a specific geomorphological zone, again, this is linked to the Dropbox drop-downs in the case of rivers, and then in the case of wetlands, which is based on the national wetland layer. All of the information around taxa can remain blank. The most important thing is the column taxon, which we've already discussed. And then there's a whole lot of optional information around sampling, effort, and biotopes, and I'm going to go through these briefly. Again, these are all drop-downs. So if you did a specific sampling method, you can choose it from the drop-down, in this case, electrofishing. You choose the effort, which is time, area, or replicates. You give, so if you choose area, this would be 10 meters squared was done. Abundance is either number, percentage abundance, or density. Again, in this case, it would be 30 individuals were recorded electrofishing an area of 10 square meters. The biotopes are quite extensive. You can choose the biotope that it was sampled, or you can actually say unspecified or mixed. The specific biotope relates to things like a pool, a riffle, or a run. The substrate is whether it was sand or bedrock, etc. The record type relates to if it was a visual observation, photographic record, an acoustic record in the case of frogs, for example. And then there are 4 drop-downs related to biotope or the characterization of the site. The first is water level. What was the flow like? What was the hydro period like? Was the water turbid or clear? And then how embedded were the rocky substrate in the system? So 0 to 25 would be hardly embedded at all, whereas 76 to 100 would be very embedded. And then you have the option of including depth, near bed velocity, and a few physicochemical parameters. There are, in fact, more than these, but these are the basics that most people include. Conductivity, pH, dissolved oxygen as a percentage, DO as milligrams per liter, temperature and turbidity, and NTU. And always in the spreadsheet, the explanation is given above. Okay. That relates specifically to algae, so I'm going to delete that. And then here, the last is the thing about notes. You could include, if it was data collected in a year and you wanted to just make a note of that, you could include it there, or things such as life stage or other relevant information that may be of interest to record for the long duration. And once you've prepared this data file, you would have a whole lot prepared. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and briefly jump to a file where we have uploaded data so that you can have a quick look and see what it looks like when the data has been uploaded. And here we have a completed upload template where you can see the UUID, the user river name's been completed, the site code with the date in the correct format. In this case, it's invertebrate species with different ranks. Genus, species is even an order here. Subclass, so it allows you the flexibility of putting in taxa that come from a number of different ranks. The sampling method, and other stuff like broad biotope, pH, etc. And then the metadata showing who did the collection. And in this case, the document is already sitting on the FBIS platform. So once that data is ready and prepared, the idea would be to send it to the FBIS administrators, and we would look at it and do the final assisting of getting the data uploaded onto the platform until you became quite familiar with it yourselves. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I hope this has been a useful session covering the preparation of Excel upload templates and spreadsheets for bringing in a lot of bulk data upload into the FBIS platform. Thank you so much.